Welcome to 2.3, and this is the last of our videos in this for Module 2, and it's looking at now how do we view and determine suitable grant applications. So we've gone through our step now of doing our initial review, and we want to think, okay, should I make an application for this program or not? One of the most critical things is obviously, do we meet the grant program eligibility criteria? Most grants that we have out there will have their guidelines, their eligibility criteria, guidelines, the purpose for the funding, etc., either on their website or with any attachment with their grant application. So first of all, I need to look: would I be eligible for that program? The second thing I need to take a look at: does my project align with the grant program's objectives? So remember, in grant design, that grant agency is giving you money to help you achieve your project which meets their objectives. So with any of those, they're going to have some sets of objectives and things that they've targeted their grant applications or their funding towards. Does my project align with that? Ask yourself that question. Some examples as well. Some organizations may have some examples of projects that they've supported for the past or other grants that they've made out there. So one of your questions may be if they do have that on their website or if it's available as part of their resource materials. Do I have a similar type project? Does it seem that would be appropriate for it? Also, look at some of the simple things such as, when are the deadline dates? I may have the greatest application in the world, but if the deadline date is March 1st, there's not a whole lot of sense in me submitting that March 15th. It's not going to get me a successful grant application at that point in time for what I want to do. So look at those type of things. Know those. Make a decision. So instead of rushing to try and get my grant for that one, I may wait and apply next year as another part of it, or I need to make sure that I ensure I meet their deadline dates. Some grants often will tell you information as well, such as, are there funding limitations to this program? So if the maximum amount available for the grant is $5,000, make sure that, and I need $20,000 to do my project, it may not be a great one for me to apply for, or I may also need to look and say, okay, I'm going to have to look at some other grant applications as I go down the road, or other areas to get my supports. Some groups may only support a certain percentage of funding for the project, so it may be based on a cost-sharing basis of a third, two-thirds, whatever, 50%. You need to know those kinds of information, and that's usually available on the grant applicant's website. Okay, they should be able to tell you that. If not, there's usually a contact person that you can get a hold of to find out that information. Also, as we look to go down the road, that contact or program administrator. Remember, with many grants, you want to kind of get and talk with that administrator early on to get a sense, does my application meet, or my planned project here, would it meet yours? Is it a good fit? Are there any hints that you may have as parts of that initiative that you think are great, parts that we could build on to make it a stronger grant application as we go down the road? And also, this is a great time to start building that relationship. A lot of grants, you may not be able to apply for them on an ongoing basis for the same project, but often you may be able to apply for new projects as you go down the road. So it's a great time to start to build that relationship with that program administrator around that. They also can be very helpful to you. Many of them will either review or give you some feedback on the grant prior to actually making the applications. But remember, give them a call, talk to them about some of those things, get a sense of, does it seem to fit, so that you're not out there spending all kind of energy and efforts into putting a project together that at the end of the day is not going to be approved or you're not going to be successful with. So also, get a sense, and you should be able to get this off the website, but what does the application process going to involve? Is there going to be a significant amount of work and detail to it that I have to do to this? Do I have the time, or does my organization have the time to be able to complete that application process? Or is it just too much time and effort that it's going to take to go into that for the resources that we may be able to get from this initiative? And then at the end of the day, it's kind of looking at saying, well, do I think that this grant would be a good fit for my organization and my project? So as we talked about, knowing what it is at the beginning of this thing that you want your projects to achieve, does that link up with what that grant agency has in the objectives for its its grant program and what it is that it wants to achieve? So take a look at some of those factors. One of the things that you may want to be aware of as well is there's no rule out there that says that you can only apply for one grant for your specific project. So you may find, as you've done your review, that there's 3 or 4 programs out there that could be applicable for my grant or my initiative that I have out there, and some of them may have a little different criteria, but there's nothing that would hinder you or prevent you from often being able to apply to 2 or 3 of those grant agencies or grant programs to try and get some support. We'll talk about that a little bit later as we go through the completion of the grant process and how you might best handle that in making your application. So, in summary for this one, really be clear. The most grant agencies and the programs have a lot of information that can help you determine whether or not that grant might be suitable for your project. Make sure you meet the eligibility criteria, make sure you're within the scope of the objectives, and how do I best link my project's objectives with the objectives of that organization as well. So that's it for now. We'll be back again and look forward to taking you through Module 3. Thank you.